It was an idea that really stemmed from one of the existing businesses that I've been working with, where one of our brand ambassadors is quite a prominent cricketer, or probably the most famous in Australia, Mitchell Starc. So he's been incredible for Ajax Cricket, what he's been able to do from a brand exposure.
Welcome to the Business Octopus, where we tackle the complex world of business from every angle. Whether you're scaling up, leading teams, or navigating market challenges, get ready for insights and conversations that drive real success.
Marketing and also contacts point of view in anyone around the world in cricket. So he's been amazing, but obviously he comes with, relevant equity and all those sorts of things that are required, and fees and things like that. Whereas I looked at another business that were looking for marketing opportunities, and they really wanted a brand ambassador or somebody who could kind of push their name and also just open doors. And so we looked at some of the other people that were linked, and one gentleman just came to us again. He's from the world of cricket, played for the Australian national team, possibly not quite as prominent as some of the others, but has a real good head for business, and had a conversation with him around, what do you want to do? And he was very keen to get involved from a board perspective, also looking at how he could kind of further his education in the whole startup world, because he was passionate about it. So I got him involved with an equity stake in one of the ventures, and we've now used his kind of face and presence to get into other clinics, and also to help promote the business, and not just helping in that way, but finding he has a unique perspective from a board level and ideas that we possibly wouldn't have thought of. So it was kind of an area that just presented itself, and an opportunity where I think it's largely undertapped for SMEs looking for high-powered, high-volume, hard-hitting marketing without necessarily the budget. So you can do this low cost where you're going to get impact, particularly now, social media and the ability for them to post on their own Instagram or things like that. I think it's of huge value to startups and SMEs in Oz.
Well, I think there's a certain point when you've got an entry point, right? Like you were talking before about how the person you're working with has a they're not they're new to the team. They're playing for Australia. They don't have the same profile as some of these other larger ones. But it makes me think. I don't know if you've seen that movie Air. It's about Michael Jordan and his rise to fame, and how Reebok got in on him before he was famous, because they spotted talent and they identified that, hey, we can stand out here with this guy. And I think he shot them to fame. They shot him to fame. And we were talking before about having there's this market problem that occurs by being famous, and that is you're very famous for a short period of time, relative, and after that you're almost unemployable because you don't have the ability to enter the standard market. Well, for the most part, I guess it depends on where you are. Like you're talking about a cricketer, only people that are really interested in cricket would be doing that, and you don't want them sweeping the floors or stacking shelves at Woolies because they're unemployable. You want them to be, or they want themselves, and you would expect them to have some life, take that fame and like take that gust of wind that they get and keep going to somewhere else. I know there's wealth advisors that help them out. I know that there's you got your brand ambassadors or your marketing agencies, but there's plenty of stories where they get ripped off. I was thinking before, is there a scope for a marketplace? But these already exist. There's probably just no one sitting there early on with the players, or these, whoever's going to fame, whatever stream they're in, whether it's sport or TV, and just sort of saying, well, here's an education piece. You're famous, now what?
Yeah. I actually think there is a marketplace. I had a look at this, and there's certainly, when you talk about getting brand ambassadors, people on podcasts, there are those marketplaces. But when I looked at, and I did this from my own perspective a few years ago, looking for board roles, yes, they're advertised on LinkedIn, and there's stuff on Seek and whatever, but there's not really a specific marketplace where an SME can say, I'm looking for somebody 2 hours a week to help with this, and this is what I'm offering. And people then available, saying I've got 2 hours a week to offer my time and things like that. I think that there is an opportunity there for not just sports people, but high high-level execs and people looking for those opportunities that I just don't think are quite there. Like I look at, LinkedIn now, and I still get the subscriptions every week of the suggested board roles. And I mean, it's just nonsense. I mean, they're just not even close to what.
Yeah. I put out there is a site called Crowd Pleaser, which is it's for speaking gigs. So there's like so many channels for sporting. It's like speaking opportunities, brand representation, signing something and having some merchandise or something like that, some co-branding. But, like they've really got to get their business head on and really understand what it is that they can do to monetize, what it is that they can do to really capture the market that they've got all this new attention from an external source. So they have to build their own personal brand. So there's a whole lot of stuff that they've got to do beforehand. They come in because they're a really good cricketer, doesn't mean they're a good speaker. So they might be terrified in front of a crowd.
Yep.
Like one thing to play, another thing to speak. Like you're part of a team, whereas you're the only person in the spotlight. That's a whole nother ball game.
It is, yeah.
And I think that Crowd Pleaser one, I listed on there, and there's gigs for like, come and speak at our corporate lunch and rev up the team, or come and talk to the open the conference, or be the MC or something like that. So that's very specific. I think most people, when they start a business like this, trying to solve one little problem, and so that by the marketplace creating the environment for these people to come and find a speaking gig, that's only a speaking gig. Whereas someone probably needs, and this is maybe not super scalable, needs to go and train these sporting professionals how to run the business of being a celebrity.
Yep. Well, really interesting you say that, because we came across a startup about 6 months ago called Jaba, JABA.ai, I think it's IO. And it's a business in America that looks at college athletes and helps them with their profiles, with brand deals. So exactly what you were saying with the Air deal, and a complete coincidence in that Sonny Vaccaro, who's in the film, who Matt Damon plays, was the kind of agent that put it all together. That's Tony's dad's best friend, which is bizarre. Wow. So we got him and Sonny, who runs a sports book in Vegas, and so he's actually coming to help that business, and he's come full circle from it. He was doing it all manually to doing deals. Now he sees this platform where the athletes can literally, it will tell them, okay, you didn't do that post well, or do this. The AI kind of works with a blue shirt, do that, links them to brand deals. And it's like kind of gone full circle where, his head spinning how the industry's changed so much since he was doing it kind of manually or, all through word of mouth in those days.
Yeah, and just for context for anyone listening, Tony is Anil's CEO in the US entity. So it's very, very interesting. And I think, like we're a whole world away here in Australia. I think, like a lot of, if you think Brett Lee, he did a lot of advertising in India. Obviously cricket is big in India. So Australians have a huge career over there. I saw Glenn McGrath speak at a software conference. It's an Indian software company called Zoho. And he came to Sydney and he touted his book. But, walking up on stage, there was like this whole statement given, don't crowd him, don't go. Because I'm sure there's some level of, fear or like stalker vibes or, something where they have to go and deal with all of this pressure and this pain of being a celebrity. Like you can't, even Pauline Hanson, an Australian politician, can't do her own shopping. I think not so that she gets harassed. It's just that people come up and speak to her, and then like something that would take 20 minutes now takes 2, 3, 4 hours. You just cannot get away, cannot achieve anything. No, so you can't live in the world. You have to live via everybody else.
That's it. And you just don't understand how their lives are. It's so different that you just have to plan for things that you just never thought about. So it was like when we had a Hollywood actor come and play golf at our golf club. I had no idea that I couldn't even bring him in the shop because he wouldn't even get out of the shop, let alone, it was only his assistant telling me that you literally got to get him straight from the course onto the course and then out without anyone kind of and tell anyone you're even on the course and whatever. And then no, we got on the course, there was still Channel 9 or Channel 7, I think by the fourth hole, had cameras and a drone filming us. And I'm like, Jesus, look, and no one knew apart from, someone at the shop. When I told them this person's coming, I'm not going to sign their name because you'll know who it is, but they worked out within 2 seconds as soon as they saw the van. Just a crazy situation.
Well, just think about like the costs that rack up as a result of that. So now if you want anonymity, you have to go and do everything by a power of attorney or a lawyer signing on your behalf, or you have to set up a trust and a company so that there's a corporate trustee owning the thing so your name is not present. Then you have to have an entourage of people that can go in and get the thing for you so you don't get harassed. Like you might just need like a, I don't know, a $2 doorstop from Bunnings to fix you in your bathroom. Like, at that point, you probably pay someone. But to have that is now expensive. So if you're not making the money doing the brand deals, doing the, the appearance or whatever else, that you're not actually able to fund your life to be safe and secure and to just get on with it without being harassed every 5 seconds.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
And as you said, and then the rules are so differently. In India, cricketers are revered, so I can imagine that Brett Lee could probably walk into the local Coles and no one's going to really say anything to him. Whereas he goes in India, he's going to have 1,000 people around him in 2 seconons.
And that can be very confronting.
Yeah, it can. Yeah, it's just it's a very different. I didn't even understand in India. People kept asking to have their photo taken with my wife, and I'm like, why would they do that for? And they're just because she had blonde hair and fair skin, and I'm like, fair enough. It's just bizarre.
My wife's quite tall, and then I have a blonde hair, blue-eyed daughter, and another tall brunette daughter. And of course, fair skin, very different appearance. Exact same thing. Walking around in India everyone's trying to get a photo. I think, me to a lesser extent, but like getting mobbed by crowds can be very confronting. I guess the context also matters. Like for me, having dealing with riots in East Timor, yes, I had a machine gun. The context was very negative, whereas in the sort of sporting sort of environments, it's kind of positive but overwhelming. So everybody wants to see you, everybody wants a signature or a photo with you or something like that, but just being mobbed by everybody and not being able to scratch your nose without having someone to take a photo would be just a bit insane. And through all of that, you then have to look at your appearance. You have to look at how you're perceived when you're scratching your bum in the line for fish and chips. You have to worry about what brands are doing. Like look at Shane Warne, how he was smoking and then he lost some contract. I think to some extent controversy can help, but it also, like Kanye West with his Yeezys and Adidas and Reebok, whatever it was, I don't care too much about that, but do a thing, get brand damage, or if you're the Coke rep, you get seen drinking Pepsi because you're damn thirsty and it was the only thing available. It's going to get found.
Or you get so famous it doesn't matter. Like Shaq, who seems to promote anything and doesn't matter what he does, he just gets more and more and more. I reckon when I'm in America, I see him on every other ad. He's just, whether it's betting or food or doorbells or whatever, he's an ad. And he's gone and bought Reebok, I think. It's like crazy.
Yeah, wow. Well, I think at that point, like he's just so famous and he's got like 100 franchise stores. Like he makes a lot of money. So he would just sign non-exclusivity arrangements to be like, I'm value. Yes, you may not make this exclusive value up here, but I'm valuable, but I'm also going to go and shop around to everybody else. You don't tell me what to do. I'm Shaq, like that's business, that's power, that's negotiation, that's holding your own in the room. And, this 20-year-old, young gun with some skill in whatever sport doesn't have that power, can't walk into the negotiation room with the boardroom full of execs that are like, 40, 50 plus and have a wealth of business experience. And this is some dude who could just bowl really fast or run really fast or jump really high. That's difficult.
Yeah, but I think what they do bring, though, athletes in particular, is that level of discipline, rigor that some people don't have. Then it's a different perspective where they've worked so hard to get to that point. They've had so much disappointment, I guess, like we have as entrepreneurs, where you probably fall down a lot more than kind of getting up almost. But I think they have really brought a different, unique perspective to meetings that I never considered would be, wouldn't even thought would be useful. But I think the founders also like it because they get to see, okay, well, there's someone who's famous who's made it, yet you talk about all the struggles and the difficulties, no different to business. It's just it's just a different context.
I think, my goal is to be extremely mildly famous. And that is not that I'm, most people on the street probably wouldn't know who I am. Most people who are highly relevant to me would go, oh, I know the guy. But that's it. I don't want people mobbing me. I don't want people to sort of be aggressive towards me in any way. It's just like I've heard of that person, or maybe I'll go say hello, which I have had. I've had a random person walk up to me and say, hey, I've seen what you do online. That looks really cool. I'm like, oh, cool. And then we start a conversation for the next 20 minutes. That's actually super valuable to me. Whereas, if I had 1,000 fleeting conversations, that's of no value. Someone just wants a signature and they walk away and I'll never see them again.
Yeah.
I'd much rather go deeper. Yeah.
No, you're right. It does become like that. Well, I've never had that encounter, so like I'm doing something well or not good.
Well, I was just doing. I think the guy saw lots of my short videos on LinkedIn, so which I have found supremely hard of late. So LinkedIn at the moment is like the clunkiest thing that I've seen for ages. For something that's supposed to be a global massive platform, where the phone app never works, always crashes when I'm trying to upload a video or an image. When you're trying to load on your browser to write a message, the text comes up and you start typing, but it writes over the please type your text here thing, and then you can't actually hit the send button. There's some sync error. I know that they've tried to block scraping tools and browser extensions, and I don't use any of that, and I still get stuck. And I don't know, the details why. I can't bother finding out, but it's just extremely frustrating trying to use LinkedIn. Anyway, that's a side note. But I think
the whole platform's changed so much in that now. I'm not a fan of it at all. It's just I see more ads and nonsensical ads, and it has nothing relevant to me. I reckon I must see more Workday ads than anything else every time I look at it. And I'm like, why would you promote Workday when I've got a competing product in my business? There's no way I'm ever going to buy it, so they're wasting their money. But to me, it's almost like it's just become a self-promotion tool, and I've lost my job. I need a job, and I'm like, this is not what it was for. Maybe it would.
Yeah. I stopped listening after you get leadership lessons from my pet rock. There's this one. It's like a photo of some wolves in the snow, and it's like, oh, this one's the leader, and that one's the follower, and this and that, and who cares? You've missed the point. You're trying to get attention. When you're same with Instagram, some of these posts, there's everything they do in the first 30 seconds makes no sense, but they're just doing it because it's visually interesting. Or you go, oh, what are they doing? And then you just, I've been sucked into something dumb, and then I block.
Yeah,
attention is limited.
It is exactly right. No, you're right.
So you said, I guess, if anyone's listening in, what does a brand, or how does a small business get a brand ambassador, and why would they do it?
So how we did it was just through contacts of contacts, where there were people that were connected to these individuals, and we literally just asked the question. We managed to get, an email to them or to their agent, and they reviewed them. The chap I put onto Medicare, I knew personally, so I asked him. And the other one literally was an email and one Zoom call, and then he signed up. And in terms of what the deals are worth, there's equity, there can be some sort of fee, there can be, bonuses based on number of posts or, uplift in sales, things like that, and then sitting on the board. But they can come in all different shapes and sizes, and most people seem at least open to different ideas. Even the chap who's with the cricket business, he could have said no, or he could charge whatever he wanted because he's probably the most famous cricketer here, but he wanted to do it because it resonated with a legacy item he had, in that he never wanted a kid to have a stress fracture injury like he had. So you go, okay, well, fine. If you can appeal to that and have something of value, it wasn't about the money or anything. I'm sure it'll be very lucrative for him once it kind of exits, but that wasn't the driver. And the other chap, it was more about education, learning about startups, learning about SMEs, learning from founders. What are the lessons, and how can he help from his experience of, a lot of sporting success, but also a lot of the, what happened before and how did he get to that point, which is, I guess, similar to a lot of founders' journeys in that, it's there isn't really, you don't know the outcome, much like sport. Yes, you have this lofty goal and vision that you want to achieve, whatever, $100 million exit, or you want to get to play for Australia or whatever it is, but there's never a surefire guaranteed way of doing it. And you're fumbling your way through like most people, whether it's in sport or in business. And it's kind of nice to have a different perspective rather than just listening to, in business where you've had ultra successful people that, in my view, like to talk about the success, but don't talk about the failures. Whereas, I think talking about the failures is far more important, and people that are raw and honest about it, I think helps more than the other side. I think people just get so intimidated with the success stories and did this, did that, and then you start to read the real stories, and there was a lot more struggle there, or the truth probably isn't quite the truth.
It's amazing how this is sort of, it's business, but it's not, like it's on the fringes. It's like some kind of like the sport and how it interacts with business. But no matter what, how many times I hear these sorts of conversations, there's a few themes that cut through. No matter how many hacks people come up with, or how many like fancy little like methodologies and frameworks, it always comes back down to having a really good network, being like really transparent and like painfully honest with yourself, and finding a way to resonate with the people that actually care about what you do. Like the amount of times people talk about these, they'll always be closing, and you gotta like do this and say that, and almost trick them into signing on the dotted line. Someone the other day said that they were evaluating some AI platform, and they had to sign the contract first before they would show them anything. It's like, what the hell kind of application is this? It's bullshit. So wouldn't you just be a better product, just be a more direct and more open sort of founder? Like, I don't know, that's my take on it. I don't know if you think differently, but I find that I hear it from you, I hear it from people in my community and other people that have been super successful. It's actually stupidly simple, and that is just be clear and open, say what you think, and just connect on a real basis.
No, I think you're spot on. I think your network absolutely critical, and obviously the more you can lean on that, the better. But again, being so judicious with your time, but also making sure that one introduction doesn't stuff up another relationship. So you do have to be constantly evaluating how's that person a fit with that person, and will it work. But what was the last bit? Sorry, I missed the second part of your question. When you're saying, oh, goodness,
does it resonate with like your thought?
That's it. And that's, as you say, it's all about kind of alignment of individuals, but it is simple. It's just do what you say you're going to do, be transparent, and hope from the other side that's going to be the case. Business isn't that complicated. As you say, there are always people that say, you've got to be closing, or 300 phone calls a day, or that. Well, 2 warm leads are better than 300 cold calls, or bring your network for opportunities here, or ask for advice. I think that's going back to one of our earlier conversations around establishing advisory boards around specific areas you need help in, where you're not the expert and others are. And again, it was learned to us, or it was learnings for us, that people would be willing to help for sometimes nothing, sometimes small fee, sometimes just a sandwich. That you don't ask the question, you're never going to know the answer, but it's always worth having a go, rather than founders trying to do it themselves, spending money in marketing areas that might not work, but try these other things that might give you more leverage. I think that's probably in Australia even harder, is that America, at least you've got a large target of 360 or whatever it is million people to spray wide, and you might hit a few. In Australia, you've only got that few to hit. So how do you target people effectively? And I know everyone says it, but it's just it is kind of who but in my view, in somewhere like Australia, absolutely is. If you've got that network and can penetrate it, it is just so powerful. Whereas I think in America you have a chance of making it with nothing or with a half reasonable idea, whereas I think in Australia a lot of things in most are stacked against you. So I think when it comes around, if you can make it here, you can make it work in the UK, America, so much.
I find myself more looking for simplicity. Like business is not that complex fundamentally, but there are a lot of things to know, to remember, to keep up with. And so, like I've got, 30 different staff relationships to manage and maintain. I've got different suppliers that I've got to keep on top of, different regulations changing all the time. And so when I go and meet other founders and when I have conversations, I want to know some very basic things. Do I understand who they are and what they're about? Do I feel like I can trust them? And, do I know where they want to go? And like, how does that reflect and interact with where I want to go? Like, how do we help each other? What's the thing that I can do that enables them, but also enables me? And that thought of like, don't overcomplicate things is kind of where I lean to most, because the more you do, the more you have to remember, the more you have to contemplate. And it's just such a mental tax. Like I think sometimes, whether it's contracts, whether it's the way you systemize your projects or something, is people try to add more complexity and, well, if this happens, then we'll do that. If that happens, then we'll do this. I just go, dumb it down and make it as like simplified as possible, because now you can do it times 1,000. But if you overcomplicate the wheel, like whether it's a conversation, whether it's a product that you sell, you're just never going to get to that scale.
No, it's a really pertinent point. And I'm not sure, it was one of these gurus, I'm not sure who it was, whether it was Dan Pena or someone, I think it might have been him, where he suggested you have in business an A, B, and C list of contacts. So you're A, and you define the criteria depending on what. So I actually did that exercise many years ago around, where my A list consists of people I've known for like 10 years plus, different other criteria, but if they call, I'm calling them straight back, or if I need advice, I'm calling them. And then there's a reason why there's a B list, because there's something not quite there that they're on the A list, but I'll kind of talk to them, and then the C, and then the rest you don't really worry about. But I found that was pretty useful to me, because then sometimes you'd end up calling anyone for anything, whereas then you go, okay, you actually start to think about it and go, okay, well, I know that person's a bit of a rainmaker, so I'm going to call that person. I know I've helped them there, that's why they're on my A list. B, kind of a little bit different, and C, different again.
I think like A, in terms of the networking, then A is like your one-to-ones, B is like your small groups, and then C is like your mass mail out.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. Correct. Yeah.
So what's new on the horizon for you, and what are you looking ahead towards with your new brand ambassador?
So with that business, we're rolling out through about 35 super medical centers with kind of his help, and then we're now attacking the market in general now that we know that the business has worked. So that one's got huge growth potential this year. We didn't realize how successful it would get, but it's kind of gone from a handful of referrals now to about 1,000 a month. So that's probably going to get close to probably 5,000 by June. So looking to hire staff, and it's a little bit difficult, and then we're trying to bring software in where we can, but it's very very challenging, because you've got patient sensitive information. But that one's going to be good. And then the other businesses, we're probably going to look to put in a couple of brand ambassadors, the finance one and a pharmaceutical one, because we really need kind of a more consumer presence with that one, that we think a brand ambassador will help us get that traction across a lot of pharmacy chains and brands.
How many businesses are you involved with now?
That's a good question. Active investments in terms of startups, I'd say probably about five or six, and then I was virtual manager, our own business, and then a couple of voluntary roles that I sit on the board of. But essentially, probably six active, and then a couple in the pipe. So we'll see how we go. But I think I was trying to work out as well the optimal number I can help without diluting. And I thought it was going to be 10. It's probably not. I think it's somewhere between 5 and 10. I think probably 7 or 8 will be maximum. And then once they exit, then we'll bring another one in I was hoping to probably do a lot more, but it's, I guess, time-wise and resourcing on other people as well become challenging.
I was going to ask, do you ever feel like you're doing too much?
Yeah. I think some founders, if you help and they keep ringing and you keep answering back, they'll ring you for everything, which is fine in some cases. But I think it almost has to, your role, my role should be strategic and should be contacts. And, whereas, unfortunately you get brought back into conversations of dramas going on with business partners and wives and kids. And that's kind of very nice to hear, but not really what I'm there for. So to have to be, and that's part of the learnings that, I've had with the investment side, in that I didn't set the guidelines. So expect, whereas now it's kind of like, you can have a call every week and a call every month with the larger group, and then that's about it. Or you can email me in between, but it's not going to be on, I won't respond straight away just with the number of inquiries you get.
Now, as the process guy, do you run them through like a pre-start checklist, like make them do an online course to go, here's the rules and expectations? I know you said you hadn't really set that at the start, but like, here's what you need to know about, family. These are the rules. Here's if you go through a divorce, here's what you need to consider. I mean, I know that that's a bit harsh, but like the pressure that it puts people under, you've got to have a playbook of some kind.
Yeah, I think that's become a lot more in place when we look at potential founders that we want to get involved with what we've learned from current and successful ones, unsuccessful, and people that have had challenges in the areas that you've just mentioned. So I think that is key, in that I think I think I've said to you before and others that we're not so worried about the idea. Yes, the idea has to be reasonable, there has to be a market opportunity, but for us it's backing the founder. This might not be their $1 billion exit, but if it's the right person, they'll do it the second time, the third time, the fourth time, or the fifth time. So we'd rather back that founder. So we're finding now that the same people we invested in know about other ideas. So we'll just go back to them and say, yep, no problem. We know you've made it work once, or okay, you failed that time, but we saw enough to know that you could probably take it to the, to the next level, depending on, what happened and those sorts of things. So I think our vetting process is a lot better initially, where we're not having such, kind of ongoing challenges as we work with the founders going forward, that we might have some of the legacy ones. But I think, going into this, we're very clear in terms of, being prescriptive around, this is how much time you're going to get. This is what, we expect from you. And this is what, you should expect from us. And outside of that, all bets are off type thing, which seems to work well. But, some people are very respectful of your time and others are not, but equally you're not, you don't prepare for what happens. So we have had situations where, wives have walked out and, and it impacts the business max. So you have to get involved, or you try and get involved and help where you can. I mean, obviously we're not experts in any of those areas, but you just try and be human and try and help where you can, because, we've all had challenges out there, and, I'm sure you have, I have, but, in those days, I don't think there was any help, or you didn't ask for help, you just got on with it. Whereas now, at least there seems to be more of an attitude, or at least foresight from people to ask and say, look, I'm struggling here, which, is nice as well, that people actually ask for help. Because I think a lot of people struggle and, let things fester, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And as you know, when things are not going well at work and things are not well at home, then it just compounds and goes in directions that can spiral out of control.
Yeah, I guess like if you don't have that open channel, like again, going back to just being honest and open as a founder, you don't have that channel, they hide it, or they feel like they can't come to you with it. That's your investment as well. You're just invested in them and what's going on, as you are. Like, you can't get dragged into everything, but you have to go and understand the problem and know what the risks are, and go, is this where we call time of death, or do we pull our money out, or do we change course? What is the fix, basically?
Yeah, exactly right. Just giving those options to people in a logical way, because sometimes, we've got it, with one right now where, I think the best thing for the founder is probably to focus everything on his own situation, and probably, hand over to somebody else, which is happening, just because give him the headspace to focus on what he needs to do. Because I think, it's just too difficult. The situation that individual is involved in is far too complex to be able to run a business and to manage everything else on your own at the same time. It's just too hard.
there's a someone else that I have in the community. He's a ex-military guy, and he had his business partner's going through a divorce, and it's pretty much just thrown it left, and it changed him as a person. You know, like the business owner is now like grumpy and aggressive, or the partner is grumpy and aggressive, and this guy's trying to deal with his partner now. He's almost like turning on him. He's sort of saying, well, look, you're in the situation. I'm trying my best to patch things up and keep it going and keep everybody happy and healthy and moving forward. Don't bite the hand that's trying to help you. And I think it does unexpected things to people. And one of the things that reason why I asked about a checklist, side note, is I was talking to Steve Baxter, who was on Shark Tank Australia. Is one of his talent scouts. So they have a whole checklist to go through. Are they investable? Are they this size? Do they have, product market fit? Do they have, go-to-market strategy? All these sorts of things. And like that, my mind goes to, is there like, before you write the check, you go ask these questions? Because theoretically, most VCs, it's a numbers game where you go, I'm going to back 100 things. 90% of them are going to fail, and maybe 4 or 5 projects are going to like 100x and like wipe out all the negatives and then make the money and then some. And that's what they're going for. Obviously, being quite deeply invested, you're going for a different sort of play here. You're spending a lot of time, you're getting very into it, you're understanding what they're doing. Because the other risk is there was on Shark Tank America, Mark Cuban was talking about how he'd signed a check to one guy who was later just posting photos from Hawaii and just blew the money. So, you kind of, there's a delicate line to balance in the middle where you need to get to know them and trust them enough, but you also need to hold them to account and make them do the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we use the same methodology that we have with a senior employee now, and it was a three-step process that Neil and I kind of came up with when we were terribly unsuccessful at hiring. So basically the first one was, could we have a beer with them? So if we couldn't even have a beer with them, then they're probably not even worth considering. The second one, would we trust them with our kids? And the third one was, when we take them out to dinner, what would our wives say? So we found that pretty much weeded out 98% or 99% of what, Neil and I probably would go, oh yeah, good person, a bit of quirky, and their wives would go, yeah, but you did look at that. That's how they would answer that question. Be like, where'd you pick that up? Why, so it's just things that, we thought, we're not always the best judges, because you're in it, you want the deal, you like the product or service, and then, you go, well, shit, I wouldn't trust him with my kid. No way. No chance. He's a bit dodgy. You kind of go, start to think more about the person rather than just the opportunity. You go, no, that's not going to work, because it's not just about the opportunity. It could be the greatest, say 100x exit. If the guy's going to be a complete pain in the backside and annoyable, why do we bother? We don't need it. So we'll go find someone.
Well, it's interesting you say that it's like a job interview, because realistically, people are not themselves in a job interview. They've put on a persona. They've spent all this time preparing for it. And the pitch is no different. So they've said, here's my service, my product. Here's the 20-page thing, and this is how we're going to do this, and that's how we're going to do that. And it just, you need to spend that time with them sometimes. And, that can be hard if you're trying to do it at scale. So, look for evidence to prove your theory wrong. It just comes back down to good sort of, weighing up and good decision making. But
look to find something in their resume or on their LinkedIn profile that you can probe into that nobody else would ask the question, and that they might not know. So I've done this 3 times now, where I see that when they have list languages, they speak fluent German. Now I speak fluent German, so I'll just start speaking in German to them, and then they'll be like, all 3 went, yeah, it's not as good as it was, or I'm not fluent.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else?
Kleiner Panzer.
So coming from the English sounding brown bloke, they completely then, Jesus, he can speak, and then they're like, oh, this isn't working. So
I only know some words. Zundkerzen, spark plug. I was
Good
supposed
pronunciation, actually. It's good.
Yes, yeah. My parents ran a Volkswagen repair shop, so ich habe eine kleine Panzer, which is little tank, but that's like slang for I have a Volkswagen.
Yeah. Very cool.
But that's it. That's as long as I can say hello, thank you, and can I have a beer, please, in most languages, then that's all that you really need to know.
Exactly.
So I shop people.
When you see the connections and you kind of test them out, and you go, oh, you know, so and so and so and so and so and so. I mentioned 3 of them, and then they'll be, oh, how do you know that person? Oh, I don't know, or whatever. So you go, well, how do you really know them? Or when you've got these, prove that you know. I'm not saying you have to, but it gives an idea. Okay, well, what else have you not trusted, or are you untrustworthy about? So if you say you kind of know them or whatever, cool. How you connected to them, what have you done with them, and things like that.
It reminds me of an ad. I think it was for like a color photo printer, which was like about 10 years ago now. And he's like, had a photo of him with like all these presidents on the wall. He brings this date home and she's looking at all the photos on the wall. And he's just used Photoshop and this color photo printer. And he's like, oh, I didn't know you knew Mike Tyson. He's like, oh yeah, I knew him since he was an ankle biter.
Yeah, no, we ran into somebody exactly like that in America, who, if you looked at his LinkedIn and you looked at the photos, he was on stage with Gary V and someone else. And I'm like, wow, this guy's legit. And even
all of those are bullshit.
Yeah. And we were like, this guy's a professional con artist. Because we even had a Zoom where it was I assume his home office. And then just kind of walk around, started showing us photos like, families of fat.
Yeah.
It was photos with Kobe Bryant and shirts signed. Well, it was all complete nonsense. Well, like somebody's gone to effort to create that much rubbish.
I'm a big fan of creating evidence of your success, but like doing it properly. Like all of those Gary V ones, as soon as you see those, like the little names on the back, like the branding wall, the photo wall, they've paid to go for a conference. They've paid 150, 200 bucks or whatever to get a photo. They walk up, photo, hey, great, no worries, next, and that's it. You don't know the person at all.
No.
Like if you just like poke them in the ribs and they're like, take a photo, take a selfie with them in that second.
Yeah. No, so I saw that. It was one person, that friend I knew in the past. They were going to the Australian Open. They were going to meet Roger Federer, and I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. And they were like, yeah, it's cost me 20 grand. I'm like, what the hell are you going to pay 20 grand to meet him for? Like, seriously.
And do what? Like, is that a romantic dinner for 2 for 4 hours and go for a bike ride? Like, for 20 grand, you'd want to really know the guy and not like have
think it was
chat.
I think it was like a group dinner and then a 2-second photo signing opportunity, like, much like you were saying. And I'm like, well, why would you bother? Like, I think they were asking me, did I want to go? Like, I'm going to waste 20 grand. I mean, I don't even like tennis, let alone I'm not going to pay 20 grand to meet Roger Federer.
Yeah, friend of mine just said he got
disrespect, but not sure he would be talking to me.
Friend of mine said he just got tickets to this guy, Sell From the Stage guy, and says that it's a 4-day intensive. He got a free ticket worth $5,000. When he got it for free, it's not really worth that. They're just room filling, so they obviously didn't sell many. And like, this dude gets people from Shark Tank on stage, and I went once because I wanted to see the Shark Tank person who spoke for 40 minutes, and then everything else was sell. So hard, it was freaking annoying. Anyway, I got a free ticket, and they were like pulling in all the chairs, and some people said, oh, they paid, but there's that smoke and mirrors of, oh, this is so big, it's so awesome. No, they've just bought a draw card, probably put tons of money down, but then there'll be a handful of people that run back to the room with their credit card and pay $5 grand because they got caught up in the smoke and mirrors.
Yep.
Or 40 grand or 50 grand. Like,
yeah, no, you're exactly right. I can see it happening. It's crazy.
Well, I think that's it. That's the pod.
Brilliant.